Okay, so in this, should you have missed the first video, right? Like click down here, and in the I will leave the link to the first video here. So we have installed and created our own frame in this one. Took care of the credentials, so set up the database. Um, that's basically where we are. And as you remember, we created your own frame, or if you don't remember, maybe go back and watch that first. So what we want to do in this video is more or less just include a different CSS framework. So if you remember, we kind of left at, where is it, frame? Let's go to our glass. And so this ships with, and this is just standard behavior here with Tailwind. And we can, of course, do whatever we want here. This is just like the default template. So one of the things that you should know is that all of those templates, all of what is generated is kind of like out of the box behavior from the CLI, and we can influence how that works by generating our own templates in underscore template. I'm not going to create this. This is not going to be part of this video, but be sure to subscribe because that will come up in a future video. What I'm going to do for now is I'm going to actually go to npm.js and go to glass, this thing here, and it's been published in, how can this already have 40 downloads? It's literally published like 9 hours ago. And we'll basically install this and use it. So we have a basic setup here. So I want to go for the glass morphism this time, right? So I'm going to do npm. You can use yarn if you want to. And now I just noticed that you don't even see my, there we go. npm, and then I'm going to say hi, and then I'm going to say gaudiamus glass, right? It's a little wrapper around gaudiamus, and yep, there we are. Okay, so this now created our node modules. So I promised you no JavaScript, and we're going to keep it like that. We're going to use SCSS. So what I'm going to do in my glass frame, I'm going to create a style sheet, and I'm going to use SCSS and call this style. And actually, as a matter of fact, you know what? I'm not even going to bother with putting my own setup there. I'm going to go to my node modules and then to glass. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into style. I'm going to steal this CSS file, place that directly here and modify it to my needs. And variables, and we'll do the same with this. Okay. All right. So why am I doing this? So the first thing that I'm going to do is I need to kind of like refactor how this works. So I'm not using this anymore, but instead need to go one more out, right? And this should be fine. This is a Google Web font. This should also be fine. As its background, we're going to change this completely. Let's go to pixels and find light orb. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do. Copy image address. So right now I'm going to do kind of like directly do this. You should probably just download this in reality, but that's fine. And don't forget, attribute that and so on. Like, don't just steal any kind of imagery without, I mean, this is free to use, but you should still somewhere at least mention like where this image is from. Okay, then variables. Okay, that's correct. We're gonna do that. That looks good. And then we need this is also not correct anymore. And this will be completely different. We don't need any of this. So I'm going to just refer to them. And this, and then probably style. Is that where it is? Yeah, that's where it is. This is true for all of those, right? Okay. So what you see here, where's this issue here? Can't find style sheet to import. You can't. Oh, and variables, right? Okay. Okie dokie. So I already have a so-called file watcher that runs in my PHP Storm. That's a very useful tool, and as you can see, it kind of like does everything automatically. If you don't have that, then what you want to do is you want to compile this with Sass. Now, there's a little bit of a story about Sass. There are two implementations. One is based on lib-sass, and one is based on dart-sass. So lib-sass is discontinued. This is important to know because like a lot of very famous packages, so for example, node-sass. So this is a wrapper around lib-sass. Let's actually quickly have a detour on this one. So this is not deprecated, right? This is a very commonly used. Let's see, like this has almost 5 million weekly downloads, and as you can see, it didn't really go down in the recent year. Now, why is this a problem? Because the package itself is maintained, but as you can see here, lib-sass and node-sass are deprecated. Basically, you should use a dart-sass version. Here you can basically see that. So it's just called Sass. If you want to do that with npm and compile it there, or whatever your IDE recommends to do that. But be aware that this is a thing that you should, and it probably will not compile modern SCSS and Sass anymore if you don't make that switch, right? So just for people that are seeing that in tutorials, that because most people use Node Sass because it's simply faster. But unfortunately, those days are over. Okay. So far, so good. So that means it's already compiled. So for me, that happened automatically. What does that mean? It means that here in style SCSS, it created the style CSS and style CSS map. So in my class PHP, what I can do now is to basically say, okay, let's include that. So we're going to use the base variable, which always translates to the web root, right? That's pretty easy to remember. And from here on, I want to go to frame, class, and then style.css, right? So frame, class, and then style CSS. This is just how my IDE displays it, by the way. This is at the same level. It doesn't live under SCSS, right? It's just because just how it's displayed. Okay, so if we did that, then reload this. So what I expect to happen, yeah, exactly, is that we now have a pretty different view on how this looks like. Now, maybe let's play around with this a little bit. So the first thing that I probably noticed is this is not really readable. So what Glass does is, and let's go into this. So we're watching the demo component at this point, right? So let's give this a card look, and both this one, card, and This is the tab system. Hold on, what is this? This is welcome. Oh no, this doesn't need a card. My bad, that's basically the header. This is the grid with this. So here we would have a card. And let's see how that behaves. Okay. You can see that it now has this glass effect, right? Where I can basically say, okay, interesting. It now looks like it would be a glass panel. And what I want to do here is I probably want to switch this to text white. Right, so let's do that maybe and say text white. See what that does. Okay, and then now it's white. So far so good. But let's look at this a little bit like what's actually happening here. So what if the preset color theme is not what I want, right? So let's maybe go back to this variable CSS that I, for my convenience, copied right into my frame. And basically look at a couple of things. So what I see here is a predefined set of colors. Now in this framework, this is gaudiamus based. So what this does is basically it generates color classes. Do you remember how I put in text white? Wherever that just was. Oh yeah, here. Put in text white, and that allows me to basically, so white is a defined color, and text basically means what kind of attribute am I going to, or what kind of property do I want to target. So in this case, that would be the color. So if I go to white, I can see that's the value for it. And that's why that is now exactly this color. Now, let's maybe go, yeah, and look for a nice color palette and see what we want to play around with. Okay, so I want to have something like maybe forest, right? Let's see. Pine View, Northern Lights. How does this look like? Okay, maybe we're going to go for that look. We're going to go for that look. So yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy those values here. Right, and say, okay, this is going to be my primary color. This is going to be my accent color. I have your teal, teal green. Oh, yeah, that actually works nice. And forest green. Okay, you know what? I'm going to actually create that and say forest color. And then put that in here. Now, if I add something to the color set, I should add it to the map too. So maybe here, I'm going to say forest and forest color. Okay. Now this allows me now to basically use, for example, forest as a way to, you know, define, well, for example, how my text looks like. So let's see what that would do for us. So it's still running, as you can see. Again, unfortunately, SAS has gotten slow. But if I reload this now, what I'm kind of expecting is a completely different look and feel. Right, so as you can see, I still have a problem with the choice of the background. But maybe we start by thinking about, well, what would the forest color look like on a font maybe, right? So let's go to demo view, and instead of text white, let's now say text forest. And if I reload this, you can see that it now has this color. Again, very, I mean, you know, we're just playing around here, not what we want, right? So I'm not going to basically go through you know, like designing stuff with you, but I just wanted you to kind of like see how you would influence this, right? Just by setting variables. What I will also want, ooh, I forgot about this guy here. Let's steal the original, I guess. Let's steal the original. So where was that? This one. Let's just do the same and say, hey, this is now here, allowing me to simply say URL and then frame class done. Yeah, this guy. Okay. That should work. Okay. So far, so good. So that's basically already it, right? So I can define a couple of things here, and we might want to kind of like play around with this. Let's maybe do this quickly and say, why don't we create a new component, right? So the only thing I'm going to run here is neoan3 new component. Let's call it dashboard. But not misspelled. Okay, so let's do a dashboard. So you can see if that it's now going to ask me for 3 different types of components. So there's a route component, an API component, and a custom component. In that case, I want to have a actual route component, and generate a view for it and use a frame, and I want to use now one, so class, not demo. Okay, there we go. And that would basically mean that if we now go to dashboard, we should basically see a basic new page coming up, right? That's how easy it can be. And then this is probably a little bit nicer to play with. So let's look at this. Let's close all of this and instead focus on our component dashboard. Let's look at the view. Font LG. So let's make this maybe white and say, okay, this is text white. And then we're going to get rid of all of this and instead say, hey, I want to have a card. It's supposed to have a margin top 5 and maybe a padding of 3. And then create a paragraph in here. And here I'm going to basically say class text forest, and then basically go to here is your dashboard. Let's see how that looks like. So this forest color really doesn't work. But you get the idea. And you see how even the like everything changed now accordingly. This is now an accent, that like how it's raised and so on. But definitely, without a doubt, our text forest is probably going to be useless unless we make decisions with the background image, which we should, right? This is way too much contrast there in the back. But this will work for now. Okay, so that's maybe everything we kind of want for now. And then in the next video, we're going to jump into like actual functionality, right? So making a register function and login and so on. So for now, I just wanted to kind of like introduce you to how things work and how fast you can implement completely different designs. In that case, we used a well, not really a design system, but kind of like a boilerplate CSS framework, and can fully change it to whatever we want. So far, so good. So I'm looking forward to the next one, and meanwhile, I hope you don't have any kind of questions. If you do, just place them either on YouTube and or yeah, that's probably the best. Yeah, let's do that, and then the others can see it too, and we can basically address it. And of course, you can always go to the Discord that you see on top and communicate directly with others and myself. Right. See you next time.